All who believe in prayer, we all need to pray. Can't believe what is happening. These must be the last days. Times are getting scary.
I am Chanel Charles, Gender Field Officer. One may ask, what is gender-based violence? It is an umbrella term for any harmful threat or act directed to an individual or group based on actual or perceived biological sex, gender identity, or expression. One may also ask, what are the types of gender-based violence? Date rape, domestic violence, sexual harassment at work, gang violence, violence in relationships, physical violence. Gender-based violence is a global problem and a significantly large one in developing countries. However, there is some hope. The key to eliminating gender-based violence on a worldwide scale is education. Developing educational contents and practices that promote gender equality, respect, and tolerance is necessary so that men, women, boys, and girls learn how to restrain themselves from violent practices.
The whole of them poor, me tell you this. You know fi bad and hungry. You know fi bad and hungry. Anything bad fi dash way. If I were you, I would have sell my gun.
I introduce myself to you as Nikisha O'Loughlin, the Executive Officer in the Department of Gender Affairs. Every year, the department hosts the 16-day campaign against gender-based violence. My colleague and I are responsible for the platform and thought that inmates have a lot to teach young people. As the justice system struggles to address youth crime, there is one resource which could do more to retrieve and reform young people, to divert them from crime and restore a positive attitude. The people who know the streets, the youths on them, and what is in their heads are the people who have been there themselves, and sometimes they are not consulted. So today, we are giving them the opportunity to be motivational speakers to encourage youth to tread a different path.
You have heard the message from all of our partners. Stop gender-based violence. I approve this message.
Stop gender-based violence against women.
Don't try to make life on your own. Remember that Jah just by
My
your
name is
side.
Antoine Thompson. For me, the most difficult aspect of being incarcerated is not being able to be a part of your family. In the sense that you got to, only my personal case, having to watch my daughter grow up without me being there. And the situation itself still take effect on your mother in the sense that you got to watch your mother stress.
My name is Travis Duport. Well, for me, the most difficult aspect of being in prison is not being there with my family, especially knowing that, well, you know, I'm serving a life sentence, and at times I would feel a bit hopeless. And I also had the experience of growing up without a father. And strange enough, you know, I started to say, well, my son actually going through the same thing.
My name is Vincent Fay. And the most difficult aspect of being in prison for me is loneliness for the family, missing the family, and also, like Chavez said, doing the sentence that I'm doing, which is life in prison, wondering at times if there is any hope. My biggest regret is getting involved in the incident that I got involved in, and in its totality in antisocial behavior.
For me, my biggest regret is, you know, not paying attention to my mother's words, you know, and some of the elders in my community, you know, oftentimes spoke to me about my behaviors. You know, and as a result, as a consequence, I'm now in prison, so I really regret that a lot. You know what I mean? really listening to my mother and those who had really cared about me.
My biggest regret will be not really listening or paying any attention to the many warnings or admonition received, not only from my parents but from teachers and maybe other elders. And in the sense that, I mean, you're like, for me personally in prison also, these voices keep playing back over in your head, and you're like, mistake there is not really grasping the opportunity and someone sharing the experience with you and you're clinging to it and making it a stepping stone. For you, you realize that, I mean, you just got to go through difficult times. You should really pay attention when you get these warnings.
I focus on the trueness of life. You know, there is no life without divine powers or divine help. And so daily, I make sure I express my sincere thanks to the beings of celestial powers, because without them, we wouldn't have been here. And so I use spiritual guidance along with my moral guidance, maintain principles, positive principles and values. I also enroll in classes and teaching as well, and also help to bring other youths who pass through prison and some who currently there as well into abiding by the social norms, so that when they enter society they could fit back in properly and help to maintain the underlying goals, which is social order.
Well, despite of my circumstance, I am able to remain positive by virtue of being involved in rehabilitation programs such as, academia. I'm also involved in assisting with English, teaching insiders and outsiders. Also a band member, RGI band, the prison rehabilitation group Impression. Will somewhat contribute to actually escaping the reality that I would have to face on a daily basis.
I stay positive despite my situation by engrossing and acquiring any knowledge available. At first I read randomly, but however now these days I read selectively, and knowing that one of my gravest mistakes was lack of knowledge, lack of choices when faced with a situation or options when faced with a situation. Therefore I try to educate myself in all aspects of life. So when encountered with any situation, I may know how to deal with assist anybody facing the same situation. I did fairly well. All of my mother migrated to Puerto Rico. I was left with my aunt. She took care of me well, taught me well, and I went and lived with my mother. I basically grew up having anything I needed. So to me, my upbringing was not hard.
Growing up for me was somewhat difficult. Psychologically as well, because I grew up without a father figure, and oftentimes, especially going to primary school, I would have to subject to the ridicules and the taunting others would impart upon me, saying, "Well, you ain't got a father growing up." So I always felt lonely, even though my mother strived to contribute what was necessary in order for me to feel like any child should have felt at that time growing up. Well, the hard life now, my mother wasn't the richest, but she always thrived. She always would do things, to see to it that we were properly fed. In spite of the circumstances, at times things wouldn't really be available to aid us, but she always tried her best. So I would say grow up normally as any normal child would grow up.
Growing up for me was somewhat, it's a difficult part of growing up here, because what happened is that I grew up with two parents, both parents, mother and father. But around them time is like only one of them had a steady job. Next one was like half an hour. So it was a couple of us was children, about 6 of us, and at times sometimes the family might extend more when you had maybe cousin or two coming in to stay with you maybe for a couple of months and so. We had it like that, but regardless of what, we still try to make every ends meet. My dreams and aspirations before I enter prison, before I was incarcerated, were to become someone in society who could have stand out in terms of something positive, owning a business, helping persons, because helping persons was always a part of me. That's just something I felt for in my heart. It was like a soft spot, helping people. And so I decided that, look, I want to be probably maybe a philanthropist. I want to be somebody involved in maybe integrating people, developing people, so anywhere along that nature. And that's why I decided to, now that I'm incarcerated, I'm ready to finishing my associate's degree. I decided to undertake sociology so I could better understand why people behave the way they do and what causes people to behave that way.
For me, I did not have any particular dreams. I was always involved in sport activities such as football, lawn tennis, track and field. But exceptionally, I was an artist. Well, I still am. But for me, what I can say is that my dream right now is to contribute as much as I can to youths, who expresses deviant behaviors on a daily basis. Try to pull them back, put them on the right track. I always believe that when something is positive, I could contribute. I try my best to get involved.
I don't think I have much of a dream or aspiration. I just live day to day, on a day-to-day basis, just live for today. I was somewhat misled. I felt like there was just some kind of power that's leading me. Maybe I wanted to be one of the biggest juggler or something like that before being incarcerated. So being in prison is somewhat a reality check for me. And since then I've been privileged enough to, delve into myself, realize that I got true, unique and genuine qualities within me, and I would just like to improve on them and just assist my community after helping to destroy. I would just like to help them build back and be a part of the building process. Fortunately for me, my family was there, still hope, still support me, they still send their love. However, the friends that stood beside are very few, I must say. I thought they would be there, but I must say that the friends them kind of disappear. I didn't see much of my friends. But the family support helped me get through day by day.
Being incarcerated and so forth, my friends became fewer and fewer. I could hardly count them on one hand. But my family always stayed by my side, and I always give the reassurance that in spite of what, they would always be there for me. Along the way, I've accumulated new friends, such as Antoine and Fai, because I never know them on the road, but I saw I had known them before. After having accomplished all these, subjects and so forth we have in prison. But my family always stand out. But friends, prison really taught me that, a friend, I believe that a friend should be a friend as long as it takes.
Friends, sticking by my side through this predicament was very few in relation to friends. One or two, that's about it. But family, family, all the way, through thick and thin. If they're wrong, they're going to tell you straight up, you're wrong. If you're right, they're going to be with you, but family was always there, through this predicament. Friends, one or two. One of the most valuable lessons I learned from my situation is that you got to listen to callings and warnings. As Antoine said earlier, the little voices we used to hear all the time, little advice. We used to hear, do not do this, don't do that. Very important.
The most valuable lesson I have learned while being in prison is that, well, one thing emphasizes the excellence of another, and prison has taught me that freedom is priceless, valuable beyond measure.
The most valuable lesson to me is when faced with an encounter situation, you must weigh your options and not just make an impetuous or rash decisions. But when in weighing your options, you look at whether it will benefit you and your family and friends, or whether it will affect you, both family and friends also. And realize that once you make a decision, there's consequences behind it and you cannot change a decision.
Stop gender-based violence against women.
Stop gender-based violence against children.
Stop the silence.
Stop gender-based violence against men.
Hey, I'm Dion M. Brown, Queen's Young Leader for St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm joining the fight with the Department of Gender Affairs to put a stop to gender-based violence. Gender-based violence has no respect for age, class, social, economic, or cultural background. It has no respect for sex. It has no respect for gender. So let's start a conversation. Let's stand up, stop the silence, and end gender-based violence.
I am Corporal Charmaine O'Dane of the Special Victims Unit Office. Our office deals with domestic violence, sex offenses, and children of the Federation. I am pleading to the general public to speak out against domestic violence and any other crime. This is affecting our country, family, emotionally, and financially. You can contact us at 465-2241 extension 4252 or 4232.
My name is Melvin Agard. I'm the Vice President for the St. Kitts National Men's Council, and I was summoned here to speak about violence. I must say that for the past few years, we have been hearing and seeing violence from all angles. And I also must say that this is not something new. This actually definitely would be an offshoot of some sort of mental conditioning or slavery, because for those of you who are actually listening to this, I would recommend that you read this book called The Making of a Slave, and you'll see that based on those pages, that everything that you see around us, violence, men against men, men against women, women against men, and all that, all this was organized for hundreds of years, so it's nothing new that just pop up on us. The few persons who have broken that chain, we ought to give them the necessary praises and exalt them highly, because it's not easy to break away from mental conditioning. And we could see this largely with our youths, because that same book, it was said that the men were put against each other, the old men against the young men against the old men, the men against the women, and they instilled so much fear into these women especially, that Willie Lynch, who was actually the author of this book, at least the letters that were in this book, said that if you carry out this method good enough, you'll see that up to 300 years after, that this method would still be there as a result of that conditioning that has been done through slavery. So violence really should be on the battlefield when it becomes necessary, not in the homes, not in the schools, not even on the street with you and somebody having an issue. But violence have its place, but I think peace also have its place, and we should lean more towards peace and try to break that shell of conditioning that that mental slavery that has been plaguing us for quite some years. It's not easy, and I even would propose that this conversation does not even stay here, but I'll propose that we get this conversation a little wider and even more within society. We could have all of the elders them contributing, because the whole aspect of violence, is just taking the lives of our young ones. And not being a pastor and all, but I'll tell you that the Bible speak against strikers. If you want to take the position as a clergyman in the church, say you should not be a striker, meaning you shouldn't be hitting your queen. And since that the Bible also calls us kings, we have to know that the woman on our side has also become our queen. And when it keeps talking about prince and princesses, this is how we are to see ourselves as a nation, that we are kings and queens, prince and princesses, and put down this violence.
For those who are exposed to such violence, I am asking you to speak up and speak out in an effort to protect yourselves. The Department of Gender Affairs has committed to resources to reduce gender-based violence, and one can contact us at 467-1397 or 662-5492. I can assure you that your information will be kept confidential.